kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello, and welcome to episode 237 of the Rotten Views podcast. Thank you, everyone, for showing up to another new episode this week. I appreciate it so much. As long as we can stay on the motion that we're in, we're actually in a good position for the podcast, and we've been moving forward more and more each and every single week. We're getting episodes ahead of time done, so I'm happy about that, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the podcast. For all the returning listeners, I appreciate you guys coming back each and every single week. For any new listener, I appreciate you for checking out the podcast and giving it a chance. Hopefully you'll check out the back catalog of episodes that we got, because there's a ton of them, 236 to be exact. So hopefully you'll find a couple good episodes, and hopefully you guys will stick around and subscribe. I'm gonna try and not say hopefully again for at least a little bit longer. I'm just here to have fun. You guys are having fun as well. One of these days I'll figure out how to properly do a podcast intro, but like always, we're just gonna go with the flow, and whatever spills out of our mouth just spills out of our mouth. But before we get too far into the podcast, let's do a little bit of housekeeping like we like to do each and every single week.
Housekeeping?
Don't think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towel?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
As always, if you guys are listening on Spotify, make sure to give it a star rating. If you want to give it a 5-star, I highly appreciate it. I don't expect a 5-star. If you want to give it a 4 or 3 or whatever it might be. If you want to give it a 1-star, that's fine as well. I'm not going to ask for a 5. If you get a 1, I might have to put a curse on you. I will buy a voodoo kit off of Amazon and learn. Or maybe like Voodoo for Dummies. I'm sure that's books out there somewhere. I'm kidding though. Just if you guys could give it a star rating, that'd be appreciated. If you're listening on Apple, feel free to leave a review. If you're on Castbox, I don't know if there's a rating system there. Whatever podcast platform you're on, if there's a rating system, feel free to give it a rating. If there's not, though, it doesn't matter which podcast platform you're on, just hit that share button. That share button does help out the podcast a lot, and I've been seeing an actual influx of new listeners again, so I really, really appreciate that. Thank you guys very much for checking out the episodes. I appreciate it, and hopefully you guys will stick around, because I think we have a lot of fun episodes for this year set up, and hopefully some extra content. I'm going to be dropping some new merchandise as well again. Some new t-shirts yet again. Got some tie-dye t-shirts in the works right now. I think they're pretty sweet looking, but maybe that's just me being a little biased. But yeah, with the housekeeping as always, make sure to check out all the other free content. You can find me on all social media accounts at Typhonstein. We're on Instagram, we're on Threads, we're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook. The main thing though that we've been promoting is the YouTube channel, so definitely go check out the YouTube channel. We got the weekly game video that drops every single Wednesday. I have very short videos over there as well, little episodes of the podcast, and I occasionally go live on YouTube every now and then, so definitely go check that out. It's all fun. We got a fun little community over there. And once we hit 1,000 subs, guess what? I'm going to be giving away some free artwork. So you definitely want to sub to the YouTube channel, turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified every single time I go live with a new video. And yeah, maybe you'll be the lucky winner to win some artwork once we hit 1,000 subs. I think we're at like 850 or something like that. So hopefully in the next, I'm just going to say like 2 months, maybe. I'm not really, I mean, the next week would be sweet, but I'm being optimistic here, and I'm not shooting too high. So hopefully in the next couple months we'll be over that 1,000 mark. Also, if you want to see more live streams, definitely go check out the Twitch channel. We've been live streaming actually almost every single night almost for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. It's a couple hours a night playing various games. We got Killing Floor 2, we got GTA, we got Ninja Turtles on the SNES, we got some Fortnite, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So definitely go check it out. We got WWE 2K25, which we're going to be live streaming as well. So definitely go check that stuff out as well. And hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. If you want to actually be like a paid member, you're more than welcome to do that as well. The option is there to be a paid monthly member on Twitch, but like I said, it's free. Just follow it, all that fun stuff, and we'll have some content coming out, lots more content, hopefully some more shorts. And I'm just ranting and rambling now, so at this point in time, let's get right into talking about the podcast. You guys probably know it by the title at hand. We are watching a full moon movie. This one is from 1997. It's Hideous. That's not the movie. That's the movie name. I don't know if the picture itself is hideous because I haven't watched it yet upon making this intro. So maybe it looks hideous, but that's the name of the movie. So don't get it wrong. This is from 1997 and it has an hour and 22-minute runtime. And for anyone who hasn't checked it out yet, you can watch it for free on Tubi. So definitely go check it out over there because I will give you a first warning. For any new listeners, I will be talking about this movie from start to finish and hit all the points in between that interest me. So if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1997, feel free to pause this podcast now, go watch it on Tubi, and then come back. Or just sit back, relax, listen to me talk about the movie, and you'll either want to watch the movie or avoid the movie. That's up to you. This movie has a 4.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 72% of Google users have liked this film. Initial release date was August 26, 1997. Like I said, it's full moon feature. So we already know what we're getting into when we see full moon at the beginning of any movie. The description, as read on IMDb: Dr. Lorca, collector of biological oddities, fights another curator of horrors over a mutant, but their clash is cut short when the mutant comes to life and resurrects an angry, oozing army. Alright, we're at that point in time where we're going to talk about the director, the writer, and a couple of the stars of the movie. And of course, the director for this one is Charles Band, best known for doing a shitload of weird-ass freaking movies, such as like Ooga Booga from 2013, which I didn't even think of that was 2013. He's best known for doing all the Puppet Master series movies, as well as all the Demonic Toys movies, as well as all the Killjoy movies, all the Evil Bong movies. He did Dead Man's Hand in 2007. He's done movies from the early 90s all the way to present day. Actually, he's done movies in the 70s as well. He also was the producer for 1978's Laser Blast that we just did 2 nights ago. He was the producer for 1979's Tourist Trap, which I believe I did earlier on in the podcast catalog. There's Ghoulies. He was the executive producer for that in 1984. Great movie. Love that movie. I'm pretty sure I've done that one on the podcast as well. 1984, he was also the producer for Trancers. He was the executive producer for 1986 Troll. He was the producer for 1986 Eliminators, which I'm pretty sure I did part 2 of that movie on the podcast as well. And I could go on and on forever because there's hundreds of movies that he's actually had parts to do with, like for producing and whatnot. He's also got podcasts out now. I think I've checked it out like once or twice, but I can't remember at this point in time, to be honest with you. And on IMDb, he's got 452 producer credits. So not talking about them all. You can definitely go check them out on IMDb. For anyone who watches his whole catalog of movies, good on you. I'm just going to say that right now. Good on you. The writer for this one, there's only one writer for this one. Most movies I've been talking about lately seem to have like 2 to 3 writers. But this writer is Neil Marshall Stevens. Thank you for having a name I can properly pronounce. He was was the writer for 2001 13 Ghosts. He was the writer for 2010's Hybrid killer car movie. Kind of actually want to watch it. I haven't actually seen it yet. He's the writer for 1988 Frankenstein Reborn. As well, he was the writer for 4 episodes from 1988 to 1991 of the TV series Monsters, which I still need to watch. I've seen clips of it and it looks really fun, but finding where to watch it seems like next to impossible. He was also the writer for Puppet Master Axis Termination, as well as a bunch of other little indie short horror films here and there. Now we're going to jump to the segment where we talk about a couple of the actors in the movie. The first 2 billed people on this list are the ones that we're going to talk about. First one being Michael Citrini. I definitely butchered that last name. He's playing Dr. Lorca. Apparently, this is funny enough, in 1990 he was Liquor Cop number 2 in Goodfellas. I love that movie, to be honest with you. In 2006 he was a producer for a movie called Shoemaker. He was a producer for 2005's Vito After. He's in 3 episodes of Raven Wolf Towers, where he plays the same character, Dr. Lorca, again. Assuming that has to do with this, or maybe it's just a crossover. I'm not really too sure. I've never heard of Raven Wolf Towers, but he's also in the 2016 Raven Wolf Towers the feature. This is kind of cool that he revisits the character, I guess, so hopefully it's a good character. The next person we're going to talk about on this list is Rhonda Griffin, who's playing Elvina Shaw. She was Anna Quarles in 1997's The Creeps. She was newscaster in a movie called Naked Fear in 1999. 2012, she was nightclub patron in Lost in Reality, which that movie has a 9.0 out of 10 on IMDb. So I'm wondering what that movie's all about. And that's all she's ever been in. That's it. Nothing else. Well, that was quick and easy at least, so I guess I don't have any more names to screw up on that part. Holy crap, guys. For the first time in I think 2 weeks, we finally have a movie that is a tagline on IMDb. The tagline for this movie is deformed, devious, and deprived. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, just like Rhonda's movie career, which was 4 movies. Tagline was 3 words. Nothing too catchy, but we'll go with it. It's better than nothing. Well, that brings us to the end of this intro for the podcast. So that means we're going to get ready to talk about the movie at hand. So this is your final warning. If you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1997, feel free to pause this podcast episode now, go watch it on Tubi, or just sit back, relax, and listen to me talk about the movie. And I'll either make you want to watch the movie, or you'll just want to never watch it ever, just be done with it and never want to talk about it ever again. So with that being said, if you're at home, sit back, relax, get some snacks, popcorn, Doritos, whatever it might be. If you're at work, hopefully this helps you get through the day. And as always, if you're listening in the car on your way home or to work, just keep your eyes on the road, okay? Don't want any accidents, don't want anyone to get hurt, just want everyone to make it to where they're going. And with that being said, we're going to get started on the movie right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
keep the sewage flowing. That's the idea. Something bad comes into the trap, it's our job to fish it out.
What the hell is this? What do we do with it?
I'll take care of it.
This is a no deposit, no return kind of business.
Has Miss Yost said anything more about the specimen?
Just hold on one sec, and I'm going to show you something that'll knock your socks off.
Every man has an overriding passion, a thing for which he will kill.
What about the human specimens,
Of course, we know that movie's gonna start out with that classic full moon features intro image just popping up. You got the bats flying at you, you got the full moon, basic yellow font. And then we just have the music slowly starting to play as we see this like test tube vial, and it's got some weird mutated creature inside of it. And then just Hideous pops up on the screen, and this is basic neon green. Font's, you know, kind of cartoony, nothing crazy, nothing too spectacular, but not bad. I've seen better, I've seen worse. But then we just see the intro credits rolling. If we see us moving around, what I'm assuming is some kind of lab where we see a bunch of alien monster looking creatures all in various containers full of, you know, pukey yellow liquids, because, you know, that's just how they look. Then we just jump cut to Pony Valley Sewage Treatment Center, where we see a bunch of sewage moving through some tanks. And then we see some 3 guys, and they got these long poles, and they're just like moving around the sewage inside this giant tank container. And one guy's like, the key is to keep the sewage flowing. We gotta keep it moving. He's like, hey, you find something weird and big, you gotta fish it out and just put it in the bin. You just gotta fish it out. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward and easy, baby butts. And then one guy's like, look, $5. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I don't care if $5 is in the septic tank at all. I ain't taking it. It's not worth it. I ain't putting $5 in my wallet to make everything stink. And then one guy's like, I once fished a woman's hand out of here. Fingerprints were cut right off. Didn't know what happened to her at all. And the main guy on the job, he's like, you know, sometimes we get some things that are deformed. We don't even know what the heck they are. Just weird looking things. And we get them 4 or 5 times a year. And then one guy's like, what the hell is this? He's like, bring it up here. Let's put it in the barrel. I'll go deal with it. So we come to find out the main guy that's teaching these new guys is named Martin. And the other guy's like, Martin, what is it? He's like, it's just one of those things. I don't know what it is. Some mutated looking thing. Let's poke it a little bit. And Martin's like, I'm head of the shift. I'll take care of it. You guys don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to go put it in my wheelbarrow, and we're going to wheel it over here and then put it into my giant blue cooler that I keep on site at all times for things I want to take home. Martin drives this old school station wagon. For whatever reason, instead of putting it in the back or even the back seat, he puts it up in the passenger seat so it can be right beside him at all times while he's driving. And then we see this lady in the office who's talking to, I believe, a guy named George on the phone. And she's like a oddity dealer or salesman, because she's like, yeah, the 2-headed babies, I know they don't deal as much, but, you know, they're just more common than, you know, they were before. And then we see the phone ring, and someone else picks it up, and it's Elvina. And apparently she works at some international species corporation thingy or something. Also, because I like to pay attention to everything on the screen. Elvina is drinking a Coke that's in a glass bottle with a giant spiral straw inside of it that has a giant-ass Tweety bird on the top of the straw. Just putting that out there. So we find out it's Martin on the phone talking to Elvina, and Elvina's trying to pass it over to Miss Belinda, and of course Belinda's the lady that we saw a few minutes ago, who's like the main lady who's, you know, dealing with mutated little babies with 2 heads and whatnot. And of course we have Martin is on the line being like, alright, I'll wait, I'm just waiting. And then Belinda gets back to Elvina and be like, she's still online. He's like, I don't know if the whole thing's working anymore. I don't know what buttons to press. I'm a stupid secretary. And then for her reason, Elvina passes Martin over, and for whatever reason she doesn't hang up her end of the phone so she can kind of hear Belinda talking. And then she puts her ear closer to the phone and be like, that's weird, what are they talking about? After Belinda leaves the office in a hurry because she's in a rush to go see Martin about this new specimen, Elvina calls Dr. Lorca to pretty much give him the heads up that Belinda's doing some like work behind his back, I guess, with Dr. Napoleon Lazar, or I don't know if he's a doctor or not. But then we see, I believe it's Dr. Lorca talking to his secretary, who's sitting cross-legged on his desk and pretty much has her boobs hanging out. And he's pretty pissed off. And Dr. Lazar is like, how can I keep doing business with this woman? She's not going to be honest with me. And looking closer at Dr. Lazar, he kind of looks like one of the guys from System of a Down, to be honest with you. I'm blanking on the guy's name. How did I blank on the guy's name? Is Serge from System of a Down. Dr. Lorca looks just like Serge, in a way at least. But then we cut to Belinda, who's now in this cold room area, who's meeting up with Napoleon and to make the deal with this new specimen. And then they give Martin a bag of money, and he just, you know, takes off, be like, if I find anything else, I'll let you guys know. And Belinda's trying to sell this new specimen to Lazar for like $650,000. And he's like, really? Will I now, huh? And Belinda's trying to make Lazar purchase medical leftovers from her for the next 10 years as part of the deal to get this new specimen. She's like, I know how to get what I want. So if you're not going to give me what I want, I'll just take this specimen to Dr. Lorca and I'll make him buy it then if you're not going to. And Lazar's like, don't mention that fake doctor. I'll buy the damn thing. Let me look at it. Open the damn box. So then they open up the box, and Napoleon's looking at it, being like, oh my god, this is amazing. Let me just call my guy now, and I'll get the money set up to you, because I really want what's inside the box. The next thing we know, we see Lazar driving away with the test subject, which is still inside the blue cooler as well. He's driving down the snow-covered road, and out of nowhere, Dr. Lorca is hiding behind a tree with binoculars being like, I see him. He's coming closer. And he's getting ready to drive down his own private road because that's what he has. So that's why Dr. Lorca knows where to get him. Because, it's his own private road. And there's this car just parked across the side of the road, blocking the whole road. And he's like, hello? Are you alive? You're hanging out of the car with a gorilla mask on and topless. Are you okay? Are you supposed to be here? And then the lady just pops up with a gun. He's like, what is this? That's Dr. Lorca's secretary, which I believe is Sheila, and she makes him go over to a tree being like, you get over there or I'll shoot you and fill you with so many holes that people can read you like a book. So then she ends up handcuffing him around a tree. He's like, you're gonna go to jail for this. He's like, yeah, that's why I keep coming back to life for crime. You think if I shoot you and murder you, I'll get a longer sentence? And then she goes to the car and grabs the cooler, and she's like, where are you going? The beach? He's like, that's a test subject that's actually very contagious, so wouldn't touch that. You can take anything but the cooler. Take the car, just leave the cooler. I don't care what you want. She's like, I already got a car, but I don't got a cooler. Of course, we then show up at Dr. Lorca's castle because he works in a goddamn castle. Why not? It's a Charles Band movie. And then Dr. Lorca shows up in this old-timey, I don't even know the age, year period, maybe a 60s style car. Don't hate me for not knowing the year of the fucking car, okay? Anyways, he shows up at the same time as Sheila's showing up, but now she decides to put her top back on and take the gorilla mask off. So they're walking through their castle and get into the office area where Sheila decides to again sit on the desk instead of sitting on the chair, as the whole time this castle organ style music is playing in the background the whole damn time. And Dr. Lorca opens up the cooler for the first time. He's like, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Go give me one of the big jars, please. Then we see him carrying the so-called treasure in the giant jar, which looks like a giant cookie jar, that was see-through one, of course. But he's carrying it with just his two hands, like it's no big deal. Like, this looks like it'd be thick freaking glass, and Dr. Lorca then begins to make out with the front of the glass because he's a little bit weird. And then Sheila's like, Doctor, would you like to be left alone? And he's like, yes, actually, I think I would like to be actually left alone with it. So she's like, all right, see you later. So then she was like, I'm going to go take care of the car. And we see her driving down the road. And then on the side of the road, in a wooden sign, it's like, danger, quicksand. The thing that you always worried about as a kid in the 90s, but it's really not a goddamn thing that you ever have to worry about. Also, it's snowing the whole time this movie. It's snowing in winter. So I don't think quicksand would be an issue anyways, because, you see the snow's melting a little bit, but I'm assuming the sand's not probably the issue to worry about right now. And then we see Sheila back in the castle area where she puts the cooler down on this part of the floor and presses a button, and then it's a countdown, and then the floor opens up, and I'm assuming the floors underneath is full of acid because we just you hear the bubbling and see some smoke coming up. So I'm not sure if it's an acid pit down below or if it's just sinking in the water. And then we see Dr. Lorca fell asleep in his chair while inside his room of oddities. And we're seeing just the camera spanning around at the various oddities inside these giant tubes and containers. And they look horrible, but they look fun as fuck at the same time. One of them's got like 4 eyes and kind of looks like the baby from It's Alive. But then he pops his lid off and tentacles come out, and he opens up the other containers of the other oddities and makes them come alive somehow, even though I'm pretty sure that's a new one that they just brought in. And when they brought it in, there was no liquid inside of his container though. And then we cut to Lazar, who's talking to Detective Leonard Cantor with Belinda as well. And Cantor Cantor's like, so let me get this straight. You collect freaks or oddies and sell them? Or like, what's going on? Ah, yes, I'm actually a collector and I buy them from Belinda. And I don't know where Belinda gets them, but I buy them and I use my actual money. It's no big deal. So Cantor's like, so why didn't you go to the police seeing you were stuck to a tree for 14 hours? And Belinda's like, so what we do isn't illegal, but it's kind of unsavory, so we went to the police. They probably wouldn't like it that much or help us that much. And Lazar's like, I know who stole it. It was Dr. Lorca's fiends who stole it. So then Detective Cantor's like, so how did Lorca know that you had this goober thing? And Lazar's like, I would actually like to know that information as well. And Belinda's like, I don't know, maybe the receptionist said something. So then Cantor's like, so Alvina, is she the one out, the cupcake out in the waiting room? Send her in then, I'll talk to her. And Cantor's like, so do you know what's going on here, Alvina? And there's like a pause and she's looking all around confused, like, yeah, I definitely know what's going on. So then Cantor starts lying, saying that Dr. Lorca made her do all this stuff. And she starts freaking out, being like, no, I didn't. All I did was... And then she starts freaking out some more. And then Alvina spills all the beans. And she's like, all I told Dr. Lorca was about the specimen and that you guys were making a deal. I didn't say anything else. And then Belinda's like, you're fired. You're fired from the whole fucking universe. I'm not dealing with you ever again. You're never going to get a job here. So then Cantor's like, so I was lying to you about Dr. Lorca. And Alvina's like, oh, good. That's good then. I lied to you too then. And then Belinda just comes over and slaps her in the face. And then Alvina's like, you're a very corrupt person. You do drugs, Belinda, and you don't wear any panties, and you have sex in your office, and that's unsanitary. And then a catfight breaks out, so then Lazar and Cantor have to break it up. And then Lazar's like, see, I was right. Dr. Lorca's probably touching it with his big, stupid fingers. He's probably stroking it and rubbing it and probing it. And then Belinda's like, we get it. So then we see the four of them showing up at Dr. Lorca's castle. And Sheila's like, aren't you glad that we installed that security camera? That way you can see who's outside? And Lorca's like, yes, very glad. Dr. Lorca says he's going to go down and talk to them all in the parlor. And that's when we then see the camera cut back to the goobas, as Cantor likes to call them, or goobers, whatever. And we see them moving around, and there's like this bigger one, and he's moving around a little bit more, and then his arm goes to move, and then we cut to a black screen, and we just hear the glass smashing, so we can assume that the little mutations are getting out and walking around freely. So then we see them all sitting down together, and Cantor's like, pretty cool castle you got here, Doc. And then we find out that he got the castle moved from wherever it was originally built and rebuilt here. Kind of reminds me of Gargoyles. So if I remember correctly, in the Gargoyles cartoon, the guy has a castle moved on top of the skyscraper. Could be wrong. It's been a while since I watched it. Anyways, then Cantor's like, so, a lot of rooms here, huh? Why are you keeping all the rooms there, Doc, eh? Why are you keeping the rooms? And Belinda's like, maybe we should go take a walk around and go check out the room. And Lorca's like, with or without my permission? I did talk to your secretary. I will admit that, because I had an agreement with you for a next specimen. I just wanted to make sure that you're keeping your end of the deal. So then Cantor's like, how about you let us search the castle, because, if we do get the cops involved, you might go to jail, you might lose your whole collection. And Lorca's like, so what proof do you have? Anyways, I did steal the damn thing. Then we find out Cantor recorded the whole conversation with Alvina in the office from earlier, and they hear back on it, and Alvina's like, oh shoot, I don't want to go to jail, that's where lesbians are. And she was like, I always thought that was one of the advantages of going to jail, actually. So then Dr. Lorca and Lazar go into an argument back and forth, because Lazar thinks he's the bear collector, and then Lorca thinks he's the bear collector, and he's like, fine, let's have a battle. Even someone who drives around a green Honda Civic knows the real purpose and joy of a Rolls Royce. I don't know where that line came from, but that's one of the insults he used against Lazar. And then it's like later that night, and Cantor's talking to Sheila, and he's like, so what's with all the tables and stuff? He's like, it's just something I do to make it look cute and stuff. He's like, you are pretty cute. Not a lot of ladies will pull off the whole vest and the boobs hanging out thing, but you're pretty cute. Out of nowhere, we see Lazar walking into the room, holding one of the containers that Dr. Lorca has. It's not one of the new ones, not one of the monsters. And then Lazar's going on about how big this specimen is and how his collection sucks, I guess. He's having like a midlife crisis by the sounds of it at this point in time. Lazar's all pissed off now at Lorca, being like, that's not all your collection. I know that's not all your collection. I know there's your subhuman species. And they go to the room where the little monsters are kept, and they get to the room, and all the glass containers are broken open. And then Lorca and Lazar start rolling around on the floor fighting each other. Biting? I think Lorca's biting Lazar. I'm not really too sure, though. It's a pretty bad fight scene. So yeah, Lorca's pulling a Mike Tyson at this point in time. He's trying to bite Lazar's ear off. Cantor breaks up the fight, and Lorca's like, "You bastard, where's my babies? You definitely got into this room and broke open the containers. Where are they?" And then Lazar's like, "I don't know what you're even talking about." And then Belinda's looking at the floor, being like, look at the floor. And Cantor's like, it's just splashes. She's like, "No, look at the floor. There's a wet pathway into that vent." So then Cantor takes the vent off, looks inside. He's like, nothing in there. And then Lorca's like, "What, you just think my specimens open up the lids of their containers, get out and walk away?" And then they go back into the other room and they start arguing with each other again, of course. And Belinda's like, "You guys need to calm down. This isn't like everything else. This is kind of weird. The specimens wouldn't just walk away on their own." And then Sheila presses a button and Cantor's like, "What'd you do?" She's like, nothing at all." And we see the whole castle going down into lockdown mode. And then Cantor goes to the front door and tries to open it. And on the other side is a giant steel door. He's like, this is some fucked up shit. I should be charging you hazard pay, Belinda, for this crap. This is going to give me some PTSD or something. So then Lorca's like, "So, you guys are not leaving this castle at all until I get my specimens back. You understand?" And then Elvina's like, "So, even me, I gotta stay here?" And she's like, no, you can go. So then Elvina's like, "So, where do I get out from here?" And then Belinda's like, "Idiot, she's being sarcastic with you." So then Belinda's like, "Cantor, pull out your gun and shoot them. Or, at least threaten them with it." Cantor's like, "I don't have a gun. You hired me for my detective skills, not to be a bodyguard." And then Belinda's like, "That's fine then. There's 4 of us and there's only 2 of you." And then Sheila pulls out her gun and be like, "Actually, I got this. So how about you guys sit down and we figure out where the specimens are?" As Lorca has them all sitting around this table, he's like, "So you guys are going to go upstairs and be held in this little closet area while me and Sheila go looking around for my specimens. If we don't find them, I'm going to have to hurt some of you guys." And Cantor's like, "How about you guys just screw off? How about you guys just start collecting some stamps and stop collecting these weird little goobers and, live a real life and a normal life?" We see him locked in this closet area, and Belinda's like, patching up Lazar's ear. Elvina's like jumping around, being all antsy because she has to pee. So Belinda gives her a pot, being like, "Go pee in this." She's like, "Where? In front of everyone? That's weird." And then Cantor's standing on something, trying to dig a hole in the ceiling of all things. I don't know why he thought the ceiling would be the best spot to dig a hole into, but whatever works, I guess. Then we cut and see where the goobers are, and they have candles lit, and one of them's reading the book, like a main guy, the main one is reading the book. I don't even know what book he's reading, to be honest with you. Anyways, the big guy who originally broke the glass is banging on something, and Cantor's like, "Where's that banging come from? What's going on?" And then the group of them are trying to sleep in this little closet area, and they are woken by some more knocking. So then Cantor knocks back, and Lazar's like, "That's probably just some more of Lorca's prisoners. Probably, God knows how many he's got." And Cantor's like, "Well, that's a real comforting thought to think about right now, bud." And Cantor's like, "Hey, other side of the wall. Knock twice if you can hear me." So then the goober guy knocks back twice. So then Lazar's like, "So, if he can hear you, why is he knocking, not just answering?" And then Elvina's like, "Maybe he's a deaf mute." And Belinda's like, "If he's a deaf mute, how is he even hearing us to begin with?" She's like, I don't know how this thing works." So then we see one of the goobers writing on a piece of paper, and he slides it underneath the door, and all of them are looking at it, being like, "What the hell? Well, I can't even understand this." And the Cantor's like, "It must be a kid. Must be a young kid. That's why it doesn't make sense." And then Elvina's the one to be able to read it, and she's like, "Door locked, how open?" And then Cantor's like, "You gotta go get crowbar. You gotta go pry it open, okay?" Lorca's looking around in his castle for his babies, and he can't find them at all. He's like, "Maybe that bastard Lazar put them in the acid bath. That way neither one of us can get them." And she was like, "Doc, can I give you some advice? Someone up in that closet probably has some pretty good idea where your specimens are." And then we cut back to the closet, and we see the little goober guys finally prying the door open. And then we see the 4 little goober guys staring at the other guys. And Cantor's like, very interesting. Maybe I would have kept the door shut, actually." And then Lazar's like, "I'll give you guys $1 million each if you guys can help me catch these specimens and let me get them out of here." And Cantor's like, "You guys notice anything weird with these little freaks? That the fact that maybe these creatures are actually alive and staring at us?" Then Dr. Lorca and Sheila walk around the corner, and Lorca's like, "Ooh, my babies, you guys are alive." And then Lazar's like, you get away from them, Lorca. I'm going to take them. They're my babies now. And I'm going to give them the best home they could ever want and the finest education ever. Then Dr. Lorca and Lazar become like the co-parenting people, arguing with each other over the monsters and trying to convince the monsters to come to their side, being like, if you come to me, I'll let you play video games and eat candy and stay up past your bedtime. And one of the little monsters starts crying, and Lorca's like, see what you did? You upset him. And then Belinda's like, screw it, guys. I'm going to throw the blanket on them, and I'm going to catch the damn thing and get it done over with. And the next thing you know, the monsters start freaking out, and then Belinda's ass gets all, like, scratched and ripped apart. And then the creatures go to run away with the blanket, so then Sheila jumps on the blanket to catch them all. And then one of the creatures gets on her head, so she starts smashing her head against the wall. And Lorca and Lazar both say, please don't hurt the creature. Don't hurt him. And Sheila finally gets the creature off her head and throws him to the ground. And then, like, the main one somehow now has a gun. I'm assuming it was Sheila's gun, actually. And starts shooting at them. So then everyone has to run down the hallway and go hide into a different room. It's also at this point in time, this copy on Tubi starts to get a little funky because we see like the burning parts of the film popping up every now and then. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be in the movie. I'm assuming it's not supposed to be. I just assume it's the rip of the movie that they have available, but it is what it is. And then we see them with the door barricaded up and Cantor's up against the door, and we see the monsters on their side with a crowbar trying to pry the door open. We see they're all boarded up in Sheila's room, and Lorca's talking to Cantor, and Lorca's like, this must be the newest acquisition to my subjects. He must be the one that brought them all alive. So Cantor's like, alright, kill the new one, everyone else turns to base, right? Lorca's like, no, we're not going to do that. We got to talk to him. He's just scared. That's why they're attacking. They're attacking in defense mode. So as they're sitting in the room, we hear a knock on the door again. And then Cantor's like moving the debris from the front door. And Belinda's like, you're not going to open that door, right? He's like, they wrote a note once before. They can write a note again. So then the little goobers do write a note. Apparently the note says, you bad, you hurt us. We scared. We're going to go. We need to go or you guys are going to die. And Cantor's like, it seems pretty clear. So let's let them out of here so they don't kill us. The whole time they're going over the note. Also, Elvina is sleeping in Sheila's bed, and we see one of the goobers is watching from the vent system, but then we see the blankets moving, and Elvina's making some weird sounds. And then Elvina wakes up to one of the goobers pretty much filling up her boobs and starts freaking out. And it won't get off her chest. And then she's trying to throw it around. And then Sheila's trying to hit it with a bat. And then out of nowhere, the goober goes somewhere. And Elvina makes a run for the door, opens the door, and runs out of the room. Then she starts running for the castle. Then Cantor's like, hey, don't be running for the castle. We don't know what's out there. We don't know how to handle it. So then she starts running, and she gets spooked by one of the little goobers. And there's like a rope on the floor, and she trips and falls down like a full set of stairs, like off a balcony area. And Cantor's looking over and be like, Jesus Christ. And then Lazar's like, God, did she hurt one of my specimens? And Cantor's like, no, I think they're okay. But then we see the specimen that was actually filling up Elvina beside her now, and he's crying because she's dead. And we see Lazar talking to the little ones, as he's calling them. He's like, I'll take you guys out here. I'll take care of you. I'll give you the best life possible. But what you gotta do is you gotta kill all these guys first. And then Belinda's like, hey, what about me? He's like, okay, so maybe not all of them, but you need to kill most of them, okay? And then the creatures scurry off, and then, of course, Lorca and Lazar try to chase after them, and then they're crawling around on all fours, being like, come on, little ones, come to your papa. I'm the papa. He's not the papa. I'm the papa. Then Lazar and Lorca start rolling around the floor fighting each other. And then they both get up and Lorca's like, enough. No more words. And he grabs two swords off of the side of the wall. And then they start having a sword fight inside this castle. And then Belinda comes in and she's like, excuse me, boys. We got some other issues. You know what? Never mind. I'll just keep looking. And Belinda takes like 2 steps down the spiral staircase and just gets impaled by this spike weapon of some sort. And she's dead. And then Lorca and Lazar keeps going back to the sword fight, and then Sheila and Cantor come across the corner and see them fighting, and Sheila starts cheering on Lorca, and Cantor just looks at her being like, you really? At this point in time, you're going to cheer him on as the sword fight? And of course, the exact spot where they're fighting, one of the little monsters presses the button, and it opens up the acid vat in the floor, and they both fall into the acid vat, but Sheila grabs the dock, and he's kind of holding on. But then as he's trying to climb back up using Sheila's help, one of the monsters hits him in the back, and then he drops in the acid, and then we are just left with Cantor and Sheila. So then we see Sheila sitting on the edge of the acid vat, and Cantor's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just, I need you to get away from me. And then she lures the little monsters over and drops something into that vat. It looked like a card. And then she uses the blanket and hits the little monsters into the vat. And we see them all screaming as they start melting away. And then as Sheila and Cantor are making their way down the stairs, Cantor comes across the dead body of Belinda. He's like, ah, crap, doesn't look like I'm getting paid for this job. So then we see Sheila and Cantor getting outside, and Cantor's taking Sheila over to his convertible car. He's like, sorry, I don't have any table. It's just got your classic bench seat. He's like, I guess I can adapt. And Sheila starts smooth talking Cantor, being like, I could be really loyal to the right employer. And Cantor's like, yeah, so I noticed. And then they start driving away. But little do they know, in the trunk of the car is the main little creature guy, because somehow he got outside and got in the trunk of the car as soon as that door opened. And that's how the movie ends, and then we have the credits rolling, and that's it. It wasn't a bad movie. I wish the creature designs were a little bit more detailed. The main guy, the Four Eyes guy, is pretty cool, but you don't get to see him too much. They stay in the shadows, which is not a bad thing by any means. I totally understand why they do that. I just wish the other ones were a little bit more detailed and a little bit creepier looking. But on the rotten scale, out of 10, it's it's a Charles Band movie. It's nothing crazy. I'm gonna give it a solid 5. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Of course, you just see people dying at the end. Nothing too crazy, nothing too gory. But nonetheless, a fun movie, and I'd watch it again at some point in time as probably background noise. But it's nothing crazy, like I said. Which brings us to a point in time where we've got to pick what we're going to be watching next week. Alright, so next week we're watching their movie on Tubi, of course. This one's from 1983. It's an hour and 20 minutes long. It's a horror movie, and it's called The Prey. Haven't watched it before, so it's going to be another first time watch. And I'm really enjoying these first time watches. I enjoy watching movies I've never seen before. I enjoy watching movies I've already seen before, but with the podcast, I enjoy watching first time movies. That way you get my first impressions on the movie.
So hopefully you guys will stop by next week to watch that one, listen to me talk about it, and hopefully it's a good movie. It looks like it should be pretty fun, so hopefully it is. And as always, at the end of the podcast, make sure to check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band Blood Opera. You can find all their links down below, but the main thing you can find them on is Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. Definitely, and I'm sure they're on other music programs as well, but definitely go check them out on Spotify or whichever music app you use. I'm a Spotify person, so I also use YouTube as well, so you can definitely find them on both. Go like their music, follow them, share all their stuff. Then, after that, if you're looking for some more free content, make sure to check out my links down below. You can find me on all social media accounts at TypeInSime. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on X, we're on Threads, we're on TikTok. We got the YouTube channel, like I said earlier in the podcast. Definitely go check out the YouTube channel where we got the weekly game video dropping every single Wednesday. I have very short videos over there as well, old episodes of the podcast. As well, we do the occasional live stream, and when we hit 1,000 members on the YouTube channel, we're going to be giving away some free artwork, so definitely go subscribe to that. Turn on the bell notifications, that way you get notified every time we post a new video. And if you want some more free content, make sure to follow the Twitch channel, where we've been streaming live pretty consistently for the last 2 weeks, so I'm pretty happy about that. So definitely go check that out as well. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace!